#idataengineer.
Hello, my name is Daniel. Some call me the Data Janitor, and I'm building Pipeline Data Engineering Academy, the world's first data engineering bootcamp. Not one of today's data engineers grew up as a kid imagining becoming one. I definitely didn't. That made me think about how others look at our line of work, and I feel the best way to explain it is through asking a handful of practitioners about the journey and how their work look like. Who are you and what do you do now?
My name is Ramzi Al-Aruri. I'm a data engineer at Flex, and Flex is a SaaS company where we help people with like their rental payments and spread them out where it's more manageable. And primarily I work on the analytics side, and that's kind of where I've been on my like path through my career is like the data engineering and like the analytics engineering, as this new term is popping up with analytics and data science.
And how did you end up as a data engineer?
I always thought I wanted to be a data scientist initially, like in school. Actually, in school, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I found a class, geospatial class, that did like some data science, and that's kind of I got introduced to it. But through my short career, I've been only like really working for 4 years. I always noticed like a gap in how the data was given to me and all the cleaning and all these kind of like questions that would arise. And I kept kind of falling into the thing where I was cleaning the data, fixing these upstream issues and anything like that. And I realized that this has a huge impact on a business or a company or a project. And I want to be more involved with this because it doesn't only benefit the analytics team, it benefits like everybody else that potentially uses that data.
Makes sense. And what projects or tools or trends excite you these days?
Yeah, this is a good one. DBT definitely. Yeah, it's one of my favorite tools. It makes like just data modeling so much easier. SQL, I think, is something you can easily pick up and you can kind of democratize pretty easily between analysts, engineers, and anybody that kind of has run a SQL query and then doing some really impressive stuff. Another tool that I like is SQL. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. It's kind of like a way to automate reports and like Google Sheets and everything. What I really like about it is one, it's very robust and very predictable. Like it runs on like a time, but I think you can do a lot of interesting things, like automating things to Google Sheets for certain people. And if you're trying to bootstrap like a startup or something similar, I think it can close a lot of gaps without having like a lot of expensive tooling or trying to do things like have an Airflow project and stuff. I think it's like really simple, and I really appreciate that tool. Like it's simple to use.
Thank you. You had like this curvy career as most of us, like, doing this and that and just trying to figure out like how to make like the most impact. How do you see that the role of data could be changing in the coming years?
I think a big thing that's changing is a lot of like out of the box tools that can replace things. I think like traditional tools, maybe like a data loaders like Stitch Fivetran, instead of building your own pipelines and like being able to stand up a warehouse relatively easily, like an analytics warehouse. So I feel like that's going to be a big change, and there's going to be less need for maybe custom built solutions.
Doing this like with a fresh mind, like what piece of advice would you pass along to those ones who are just starting out their career, maybe especially like in data engineering?
Big thing I think for me is just try to solve a business problem, not a technical problem. And I fall in this gap a lot. Like Airflow is cool, and yeah, we can write some cool Python, but if we want to just put data in a warehouse, I think we can just like upload a CSV and maybe that'll solve the business problem for now. And maybe it'll be persistent over time well enough where you solve the business problem and maybe you don't have to go back to it and scale it up. So I think a lot of times don't get trapped in technologies and like what's hype. Try to solve a business problem before solving a technical problem. We'll eventually get to the stage where we want to scale and do some interesting things. I think that's a big thing, is just try to solve a business problem before anything else.
I mean, you're an engineer, so one part of the job is like to talk to people and trying to figure out like, what to do, what not to do. But when you're like really like in the flow, do you listen to music?
Yeah, all the time. I think that especially when I'm like deep into something, I love to like listen to a whole album back to back and just coding, whatever, just be really deep into it and no distractions.
What keeps you in the flow? What do you listen to?
I listen to a lot of Josophelstein. He's like industrial techno. And then also I like Muse and The Strokes and Radiohead. Those are some of my go-tos.
Thank you. If you are a data engineer and you feel like sharing your story, reach out. I'd be happy to chat with you.
#idataengineer.